we talked yesterday about how the yellow worksheet, if I can get them out, the yellow worksheet has a lot of numerical data, right?
Yes.
What kind of data was the blue worksheet? How was it given to you? Equations, aka not numerical, but do you remember the four ways? Algebraic. There you go. I don't think it was given to you graphically. You had to go to your graph, but it wasn't given to you graphically. In your yellow worksheet, you're going to have big old nasty tables of data, true? And the very first step to dealing with a table is getting it in your calculator. So in your calculator, you guys have page 7 in your handbook, walking you through list 1 and list 2, how to put in, how to clear out, etc. Can I just walk through a few things with you and make sure that we're good? Is that cool? And can we use the first problem in your worksheet?
Yes.
Because then you could actually, have it in there to keep going on your worksheet, like to do homework. Is that cool? Okay. So how do we get to the list in your calculator in order to say put in the very first table in calculator worksheet number 2? Where do you go? Nope. Good idea though. That's how to get to a table that's generated from your function. But the problem is in calculator worksheet number 2 we have no equations. So this second graph table is absolutely useless to us. Bummer. We have to actually put in the table itself. We're not putting in an equation. We're not going to y equals, so we can't use this table. Good thought. Look at your handbook. What does it say? Doesn't it say stat, then enter? You guys are silly. So if we hit stat and then enter, edit lists. Oh, now I already typed them in, but wait a minute. That's not number 1. Number 1 is 1980, 1985, 1990, 1995. What did I do instead? Why did I do 0, then 5, then 10, then 15, then 18, 19, 20? What did the parentheses say, guys? Yeah, for the year 1980, let t equal 0. What is year 0? 1980. So how far away is 1985 from year 0? 5. Then?
10.
Then?
15.
Then?
20. 18.
But that's what a lot of people do. They either put in 1980, 1985, and it's so wrong it's horrible. Or they go 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Nope, 18. Then 19 years away. Then 20, then 21, then 22 years away. Does that make sense, guys? It's how many years away. Because if you're graphing this, or if you're using the graph, do you really want to change your window to have x be 1,980? No, I want it real close to the origin, please. So let's make 1980 year 0, and then year 5, year 10. That's just like a strategic way of working things out. Hey, this population, so there were only 81.1 people in whatever we're talking about in 1980?
No.
We're getting context.
1 million.
Yeah. Must be small numbers. 81.1 thousands of people, or 107.7 thousands of people. So remember, whenever you have a list of data, this doesn't necessarily just mean exactly what it looks like it means. Meaning, in my table, I'm putting 0, 5, 10, 15, 18, 19, but what does this mean? 1980, 1985, 1990. What does this mean? 81.1 thousands of people, which you would just move the decimal place 3 places, so 81,100 people. Or move the decimal place 3 places, 107,700 people. Anyway, just remember the context. Remember the context. But once I have that table in my calculator, well, hold on. Can you guys fit this entire table in one screen, or do you have to like scroll up or scroll down to get there? Okay. So if you have to scroll up or scroll down to get there, it could be kind of annoying because you better double check everything you put in, because if you put in anything on the quiz or on the worksheet, if you put in any number wrong, what's it going to do to the rest of the problems? Throw it off just a little bit. If it's off just a little bit, do you think I'll have to take off just a little bit?
Yeah.
Well, maybe have batteries for tomorrow. Okay, so coming back. Assuming you have batteries and a working calculator, you need to get this data in correctly. Did you guys notice in the handbook that it got real weird? Like on that second page with braces and arrows and all kinds of weirdness? What they're trying to show you is there is another way of putting in data. You can actually put in, like, I don't know, I have 1, then I have 2, then I have 15, then I have 18, and then I have like 25. Now this is just some random, oh, I didn't put a comma. This is just some random list that I'm making up in my head right now. But you could put in something like this, and then you could hit the stow button. Stow is pretty cool because it's like, hey, I'll take whatever you just gave me and I'll throw it somewhere. I'll put it somewhere. Do you guys see that there's little L1s, L2, L3s, L4s above the numbers down here? But they're blue, right? Don't they need the second button to get there? I can go stow now. I don't want to overwrite my L1. I have good data in there, or L2. Let me throw it in L3 just for illustration purposes. If I hit enter, guess what just appeared in L3? Yep. Hey, look. Ta-da! So you can throw a whole table in all at once if you would like to a list. And sometimes it's nice with really, really long lists to make sure that you've gotten the numbers in correctly. Now, let's say you go into your list maybe on the quiz or in another problem, and you're like, I need to get rid of all this data. Now, maybe you're going to keep one problem here and another problem there and another problem there. Now, careful and follow directions very carefully. If you ever want to clear out a list, you could hit delete, delete, delete one at a time to get rid of data points, or you could go up here, careful, and hit clear and enter. If you hit clear and enter, the list will disappear. Like what's in the list will disappear. Now, let me show you what not to do and how to fix it. What if you ever delete an entire list? Oh no! A lot of people delete their L1 and they get really sad because all the presets work with L1. My list is gone. Now, do you see this little insert button? If you go second, delete. If you ever lose a list, and then didn't we just figure out where the L1, L2, L3s are? Can't I name it? Whew, it's back. So if you ever accidentally, now here would be really sad, right? What if I accidentally deleted my, all my data, I had it typed in, it's so amazing. What happens if I try to get it back? It stowed it for me, that's nice. Oh, it's okay. But anyway, do we see how if you delete a list, it's not the end of the world? As we know it. Anyway, so we have our L1s, we have our L2s. We talked about handbook pages, I don't know, what is that, 7, handbook page 8, all of this stuff. Yeah, if you want to get rid of all your lists, you can do that, but I would never do that. That's scary. I don't like clearing things. Have you guys figured out, as you were going through your handbook, how to graph a list? It didn't work? This one says, well, first of all, make sure each of your L1s have an L2. If one's longer than the other, you input something wrong, and it's going to get real mad, and it's going to say something like invalid dimension, I think. Something nasty like that. But if you have that, there are two ways of doing this. One is second y equals. You can turn on a plot by selecting. I want the on selected. I have my info in L1 and L2, but if you guys like have number 1 be in L1, L2, number 3 be in L3, L4, you could technically not have to delete your data, which might be nice for something like this where like maybe you type in something wrong and you think you're right but you're actually off. Like it might be nice to do like L1, L2 and then L3, L4 and then maybe like L5, L6. But anyway, if you do ever want to change your list, all you need to do is come on down to the option of the X and the Y. And you guys already saw where the L1, L2, L3s are. You can just go ahead and change it. But I have my info in L1, L2, so I'm good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and just go to my graph. Yay! Where's my...
No, but I didn't get this way. It says plot 1, plot 2, plot 3.
Well, there's a snazzy way to do it, too. You can just go turn this on. Do you guys remember how yesterday I said don't have it turned on unless you're doing lists? You can turn it on that way. But, Alec, did it not work when you did second y equals? It didn't come up?
I get a different screen. Oh, that one, okay.
And then you can just hit it and then make it on. And then whatever L's you want, make sure that you have the right X with the right Y.
Which button do I press? Oh.
Just on.
There it is.
Yeah, just hit enter on the on. Okay, so if I'm graphing, where's my stat plot? What'd you guys learn in your handbook? How can we zoom to a stat plot? Hey, zoom stat. Says, I'll go look at your list and I'll go find it for you. Look, there it is. It makes the window perfect to fit in all of your L1s and all of your L2s, which is really, really nice. Which is really, really nice. Now, guys, if you notice, This doesn't look like 0. Do you see how these are all weird and spaced out and you don't even see the axis? Yeah. It's because it went up to your data, so all of a sudden your y's are starting at 64. I always like to see like the entire graph. So to be honest, I always change the y to be a negative number, so I have a little bit of negative. I like seeing the whole thing. It zoomed up way up here, so when it does that, just be careful. Zoom stat is going to not really care about the x or y axis. It's just going to go find your data. See how the x-axis is missing? So if you want to have like perspective as to what's going on, then just go throw in a negative number for y min. You can get a little bit below, a little bit above, and then you have your nice little stat plot. Did they even need a stat plot? Sorry.
How did you get that?
No. Did you do zoom stat? Oh, do you have all your cool stuff put into your tables?
Yes. Like it shows up, it just disappears.
It disappears? Is your battery dying? Like the screen turns off?
No, just like the plots go on, and I see it for like a split second, they just disappear. Just grab.
Oh, this is super weird. Okay. But for you guys that are working with me, you have your table and you've gotten your stat plot like the handbook would say.
Yeah, look.
How on earth do we do what number 1 is actually asking, which is find the linear regression? Okay, sorry. What's number 1 actually asking for? Hey, that's something in the handbook, isn't it? Let's go back to the handbook because we're supposed to be going through that. I just keep getting distracted. Have we missed any objectives yet? Did this work out okay, the making the stat plot? Change your windows. You guys could have put your x min, x max, y min, y max. That would have kind of been answering number 9. It kind of looks like it'd be negative 1 to, oh, probably what's up here. This looks like negative 1 to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7-ish. And then negative 4 to 8-ish. Oh, hey, this is exactly what we need, right? Letter C is regression, best fitting function. How do we get here? Stat over enter. Do you know how in the graph we have this really cool second trace? The calc menu has a lot of stuff in it. Stat has its own calc menu that has a lot of stuff in it. Now in this one, why are they having us do a linear regression? If you look at the graph, oh, it looks kind of like a line, yeah? Now, they didn't have us do a stat plot in the worksheet, but they did tell us it's going to look like a line. It actually does. We see that. So we can't find the equation, though, unless we run that regression. So stat and then calc, linear regression is number 4. For newer calculators, I think you have to hit like enter, enter, enter a lot of times, and you get here. Older calculators, it might go straight there. But guys, how would you answer this in the worksheet? Do we do y equals literally ax plus b? Yeah, no, that's super awkward. We just write the function, right? So it's going to be y equals 4.356. Why am I going to put a t instead of an x? Yeah, if you guys look at the problem, isn't it t equals? So you're using t instead of x? But we put in the function. We put in the actual numbers themselves. What's up, Sophia? Oh, that's talking about basically, without going too crazy into stats, oh, maybe I don't have the R, but I know what you're talking about. It's talking about how close this fits the data. And the nice thing is, we don't have to do it for number 1 and 2, but check out number 3 and 4 real quick. I think numbers 3 and 4 has you do, oh no, it doesn't have you do a stat plot. Does any of them have a stat plot that you're supposed to do? Have you guys looked at the worksheet yet? Oh, here we go, number 7. Number 7 has you draw a scatter plot of the data, right? So the scatter plot would be, it's going to be like a collection of dots, and it's going to be kind of all over the place. Then there's going to be a line that goes through. So you're doing the scatter plot with all the points, then you're actually getting the function that goes through. And not every single point is going to be on the line, because it's more of a trend. It's a function that shows the trend of the data instead of like all of them perfectly fitting the line. This kind of has to do with statistics. That R thing, Sophia, tells us how closely it fits the data. Because if like the points are all over the place, then the line's not going to be very close. There's a reason for the R we'll talk about in the future, but yeah, it's basically saying how good or how bad it is, but we don't have to worry about that right now.
So is there a way to do the scatter plot in our calculators?
Yeah, just what we just did, which was the stat plot, turn on, and then use zoom stat. Yeah, with the new table though, right? But hold on, in number 1, you weren't even having to do all that craziness. We were just trying to get our function, which is 4.356t plus 83.344. Number 2, though, is still on number 1's data, right? What does number 2 ask us to do? Predict. Using the linear regression that you calculated, using the function that you just found, what will be the population in the year 2011? Now, just to help you guys out, because this is a hard worksheet, these are hard types of problems, we have to realize what we're reading and what's being given to us. So when it says the year 2011, is that an X or is that a Y? That'd be an X. Technically a T, right? But why am I going to put 31 instead of 2011? From? Good. So 1980 is 0. Remember it was 5 away, 10 away. How far away is 2011? 31 away. Now, is there a way, just mathematically, for you to go ahead and take this function, plug in 31? We could just type it on the home screen, right? Yeah. Can we just type 4.356? Okay. But do you think we're going to have to be using the exact same equation again in letter B?
Yes.
Aren't we supposed to be learning how to use our calculator anyway? Right now, you do not have this equation in your calculator anywhere until you actually go to Y1 and actually type it in. And if you were to type in 4.356 x, oops, I don't want that one. Oh, 4.356. I have to hit the X button. Plus, what was it, 83.344? Okay, now I actually have it in my calculator. Do you guys realize you can actually do, well, hold on, blue worksheet. Can't you do value? Can't you find value on your calculator for a given X? Now, the dilemma is, why would I not want to go to my graph right now and do, oh, hey, look, it's a pretty good fit. Oh, sorry. Why would I not want to go here and actually do value? If I was in, like, good old-fashioned, hadn't done zoom stat, I wouldn't want to do value. Does anybody know why? It's looking for Y. So if I'm in Zoom Standard, the Y is way too high. And isn't 31 off my graph? I'm going to have to change my window. I'm going to have to change my zoom. All I want to do is plug in. Can I show you something nifty? There's a hidden menu in your calculator as long as you don't have a yellow button on your calculator. If you have a yellow second button, it's not going to work. Does anybody have a yellow second button?
What do you mean yellow?
Oh, sorry, KJ. There's a way to get there, just not the shortcut way. So hold on. The old-fashioned way is to go to, this one does work for you, KJ, to hit the vars button, to go over to Y vars. We're in what's called function mode. We're dealing with functions, and there's this little guy called a Y1. That's the old school way to find it. You can hit the vars button. Everybody, this works. The function button, the Y1. I'm going to show you how to use it in a second. But the newer calculators, if you guys hit your alpha Y equals, there's a whole set of hidden menus. Alpha Y equals. There's a whole set of hidden menus, and you can hit the window button to go to the next one. It's like shortcuts to get to common places. And then Y vars. You can actually go to alpha trace, and you can get the Y1 a faster way. But the long story short is your calculator totally understands function f of x notation. Yay! I just plugged in 31 without having to use my graph. The answer is 218.38. But why can I not box it? Because I would be wrong right now. That's not how many people. Isn't that how many thousands of people?
So it'd be plus 82. Wait.
So you would have to add the word thousands, or you could rewrite it to be 218,380. Either one's okay. But you couldn't just write 218.38 because that's not how many people. It's how many thousands of people. Does that make sense? But letter B is a bit harder. And guys, believe me, I'm preparing you for like 5 and 6 and 7 and 8. Because some of you are like, this is so easy, I could solve for it by hand. Letter B says, when will the population reach 250,000? Is that an X or is that a Y?
It's a Y.
That's a Y. But why am I just going to set 250 equal to?
Because it's in decimals there.
Because you want to find T, and doesn't T work off of Y's that are in thousands, right?
Yes.
So I have to take away the 3 zeros. I have to move the decimal places 3 to the left. I have to think of how many thousands 250,000 is. Now, I know that this one is easy to solve by hand. Subtract, divide, you're done. The problem is there's a function coming, an equation coming. See this little cubic regression guy on number 5? Setting him equal to a number and solving by hand? Not fun times. So how can you use your calculator to set two things equal and try to figure out where they meet? Intersection points. Can't I graph two different functions and find their intersection points? So what if I go to my graphing calculator, and what if I put in that one, but what if I also put in 250? Uh-oh, now hold on. Wait, zoom stat. Zoom stat gives me a good picture, right? Okay, let's do zoom stat. I find all my data. There's my equation. Where's 250? Uh-oh. This one only goes up how high? Oh, 197. So the struggle is, if you do use this procedure, if you do use this technique, you do have to make sure your window has all the information. But guys, is it going to hit? Oh, it is going to hit. I just have to keep going out a little bit, right? I don't know how many years it's going to take. Let me just do like 100 years into the future, and hopefully it'll hit it at some point. There we go. When's it going to hit? When's the prediction of when it's going to hit a population of 250,000? Right here at the intersection point. So I can go ahead and use that nifty stuff that we learned for the blue worksheet and do, there we go. T is going to equal 38.259? Yeah.
I'm not getting you. It's not
Because if you think about it, T is going to equal that 38 point something, but as some of your classmates are saying, they're like, wait, but I remember what that stands for. Doesn't that actually stand for how many years from 1980? So 1980 plus 38 would be 2018, right? So it's somewhere between 2018 and 2019. But technically, if you want to think about it, isn't that entire year up until January 1st, isn't that all 2018? So technically, we can just say 2018. It's going to happen somewhere in the year 2018. That's okay. Yeah. Because you see somewhere. Do you guys see how these problems need you to be able to use your graphing calculator, but also need you to keep your wits about you and to keep an eye on what the information is? Is it an X? Is it a Y? Do I plug it in? Can I use my calculator, etc.? Does that kind of make sense? There's a lot going on. But there's a lot that your calculator can do. Now, if I were you, I would do a couple things off to the side, because these problems coming ask for similar things. Like on letter B, I think it's great to find the intersection, right? Take the given, make that y2, y1, find the intersection. Or for letter A, maybe using y1 with a parenthesis. Like there are some hints you guys can kind of give yourselves as far as what we did. Because yeah, it looks easy when I do it. I know how to do it, and I'm teaching you how to do it. But when you have to do it on your own in just a little bit, it might be kind of rough. So I would maybe write down something like, hey, don't forget your intersect feature. And here's like your y1 versus your y2. This one I would kind of think, oh wow, that's light, sorry. What do we do? Oh, function notation. You could use like y1 of, or you could use that cool value feature. And believe me, this equation is an easy one. It's a linear one. You could have actually solved by hand plugging in 31, or you could have actually solved by hand getting t by itself. Other ones are going to get harder where you're going to want to use your calculator. Guys, let's go back to the handbook real quick, and I'm about to let you loose just to work on whatever you want and ask questions and ask your group questions. But is there anything else in the handbook as far as objectives? This one was a linear regression. The answer was negative 2x plus 8 for number 10. if you had found it correctly in your handbook. Let me dual page so we can get a little more done. Uh-oh. Hi. There he is. This next one, you were supposed to, the word is superimpose. It's basically take your stat plot and then put the regression into your y equals and graph. I'm giving you little hints. Get your stat plot and then put your regression equation into y equals and graph. Then it basically connected the dots, but like Sophia and I were talking a second ago, or the one that we just saw, it didn't perfectly connect the dots. It kind of went through. It was just a trend. For number 12, what did you guys get for the first expression?
Hold on.
You can do majority rules, because if two of you guys matched up, you should be good, right?
4.63.
6382?
No, 4.64. And then
You guys agree with Alec on that? So yeah, just give me a head nod, because it really helps. Uh-oh, we're going to have to go back in the map.
Oh, I didn't get that.
What'd you get, Jamie?
I got 6.88 and 6.25.
Did they match up with those ones?
you're wrong.
Yeah.
Dude, I didn't get it.
Okay, multiple people matching up with those ones. 6.88 and Jamie, 6 point.
Oh, 6.25.
HAD.
Dude, you cheated.
I think it's objective number
Yep.
12. I don't think we have any objectives on this page. This one, you're using the stove button, and so you would have actually gotten this whole value. And then you would have hit the stove with a little arrow to an alpha A, and then you could have typed this all in. Yep. What you guys get as your final value for number 14?
Negative 1,917.
Yeah, I got negative 19. Actually,
You guys give me the decimals real quick.
79.
Wait, what? I didn't.
What? Well, did you get positive or negative?
Positive. It can't be negative. It's a square root and the 3 is positive.
Okay.
I mean, there is a minus, so there's the possibility of it being negative.
Yeah, I got it.
I was looking at the normal.
Oh, this is for that one?
No, I think that's negative.
Oh.
I think I'm on the wrong pod.
Yeah, because number 14 is only that. There's no
Yeah, that'll be number 15. That'll be number 15.
Yeah, number 15.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize I had renumbered it. Okay.
Bruh.
So this is number 14. And then number 15, when you plugged it in, then what you
Oh,
get?
yeah, that's a whole different one. Negative 1917.09.
1970.09?
17.
Oh, okay.
Click here. Do it.
Oh, that's just the buttons. It came after this as to how to actually do it and what buttons to hit. Then it takes you to that math menu, which actually, you guys find the correct 6th root of 64. What'd you guys get? You guys could have done that with a factoring tree. How about negative 5 plus 3 absolute value? It should be 2. But did you find the absolute value in your calculator? But the cool thing is, you guys just saw a second ago me find a hidden menu. There's a cool hidden way to get to your absolute value too. He's one of those hidden guys that you can get to real fast.
He's a hidden boy.
That you have to, that you can. That you can. And then we had 7 factorial.
6.6.
6.6 is huge.
That's what I got.
54.
Let's see how I did that. You're correcting me.
I got 54.
7 factorial is 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2. Not that we're learning factorials today, but it's a huge number.
Oh yeah, it's 5,000.
Yeah, it's 5,000.
My calculator has it.
But double check. This factorial, the little exclamation point, he's also in that cool hidden menu, which is kind of snappy. The last one was a piecewise function, right? Okay. Nice thing is, guys, this objective, we're just going to leave it until after the quiz. We might talk about it like on Friday or something. But this one's not on the quiz. So for right now, can we just kind of leave this whole piecewise thing? Can I put him in parentheses and we come back to him? Is that okay?
Yes.
We don't need to like waste time on him today. It's all right. He's good and he's useful, and we'll come back. He uses something that programmers call booleans, which is kind of snazzy, but that's all right. Okay, we have about 10 minutes for you guys just to get work done. If there's a question that I hear, because I'm just going to be meandering, I'm willing to answer whatever. If there's a question I hear that I think will be helpful to everyone, I'll come over and show it. But otherwise, work on calculator worksheet number 2. Oh, yeah. They were just showing the menu. Yeah. If you guys got the 6.61, you just didn't go hit the exclamation point.
This is small.
Why did you put the answer that it's like oh, it's because
I'm still totally available for questions. I just don't see any hands.
oh, that's good. Oh, so the variable is so then like 0.275. What does that mean? That's the height. This is the x. Is he? Okay. Wait, but also the height. Yeah, the height. Oh, wait, the height. I'm not plugged in. Yeah, we're going. The height of all of them.
Get my attention, I'm still available. I'm just going to post the answer key to worksheet number 2 on your Google Classroom so you can check your answers whenever you're ready to tonight. Does that make sense? I'll remind everybody before. I think you're the only one. Context, actually. It doesn't mess you up at all.
Okay.
All it shows is y at 0, this thing was off the ground.
So then at that point, you're just plugging in 0.275.
For t,
Okay.
Or going to your graph and finding the max.
Okay.
For
Well,
B.
that's both, right? That's B.
Yeah.
But A is.
Yeah.
Oh, no.